My Super Golden Crisp cereal is the life of this nutritious breakfast. Can't believe there's 8 vitamins hiding in that sweet, crispy wheat. Well, Frankie the Finn and my old pal Sharky. What's up, fellas?
Your time, Sugar Bear. We're cruising for a crunch.
How about a vitamin-packed punch?
Let's get it.
Last flight to the coast. Thanks for the lift, boys. I can't get enough Super Golden Crisp. It's got the crunch with punch. My Super Golden Crisp cereal really shakes up this nutritious breakfast. Those 8 vitamins always seem to come in handy. Pitter-patter of little feet, probably after the sweet, crispy wheat. Que pasa, Toro?
Also your cereal, Sugar Bear.
No way, Jose. How about a vitamin-packed punch? Olé. It doesn't pay to be a bully. I can't get enough Super Golden Crisp. It's got the crunch with punch.
Hello there. I'm Granny Goodwitch, the only human in the forest.
Ready now, Granny, here I come.
I heard that. It's Sugar Bear, and he's after my Sugar Crisp again.
I can't get enough of that Sugar Crisp, Sugar Crisp, Sugar Crisp.
Oh, he's coming. Where'll I hide my post-Sugar Crisp? It's a honey of a snack, you know. Better slow him up with my magic.
I can't get enough of that Sugar Crisp. It keeps me going strong.
He's the strongest bear I've ever known. Gotta hide my post-Sugar Crisp. Here's a safe place. Sugar Bear, honey, it's nice to see ya. Sure knows how to start his day a little bit better.
You bet you.
Yeah, I know the volume's a little low on that one, family, but you get the point. Yeah, it was Sugar Bear, along with all these other cereals that we had growing up. Frosted Flakes. Come on, give me some cereals, family. What was it? Fruity Pebbles. Man, what was it? Chex cereal? Was that the one that Mikey likes? It was some cereal that Mikey likes. Like all these sugar-filled cereals, family, they were all said to be part of a balanced breakfast. You can eat this sugar-laden product, throw on a banana, an apple, and some orange juice, and you was doing good. That's what Captain Crunch. Yep. Captain Crunch was one of the ones. Shout out to Roberta Ripley. Yep. Apple Jacks, Rice Krispies. Yep. Corn Pops. Oh man, now you talking. Fruit Loops. Now that's Fruit Loops got some drugs sprinkled on that one. Captain Crunch, Sugar Smacks. Yep. Fruit Loops. Blueberry. I hadn't heard of that one. Y'all going back now. King Vitamin. I hadn't heard of that one. All right. Apple Jacks. Yep. So all you get it, fans. Oh, Cookie Crisp. Oh man, Cookie Crisp. That was it. But you got it, family. Like all these, all of those cereals were. I mean, you already know, family. They were bad. And in fact, what I'm going to do, family, I'm going to show you a couple of videos from some doctors. A couple of doctors from our people, also outside of our ethnicity as well. But I just wanted to show you some clips of what doctors are saying about sugar. So one of the first ones I want to show you is a brother by the name of Dr. Bobby Price, I believe is his full name. But Dr. Bobby Price, let's take a look and hear what Dr. Bobby Price has to say about sugar.
Peace and blessings, people. Welcome back to the channel. Once again, for those of you, this is your first time with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification button so that you'll get notifications when great videos like this come out in the future. Now, today's video, I'm going to be talking about something around nutrition that is probably one of the #1 risk factors for obesity. Okay, while we're so overweight and obese here in America, 75% of the population, but it's also a leading contributing factor as to why we're so frail when it comes to our immune system too. And our immune system is directly related to autoimmune conditions. It's directly related to the pandemic that we just came out of and why so many people were affected and then so many other people were not affected. And so I want to dive into this topic because Our nutrition and the way we eat has transformed so much over the last 50 to 7 years. Our food has become industrialized, and to a large part, a lot of our food has become more chemicals than food at all, okay? And one of the things that we saw transform in the 1980s and also 90s was that sugar became ubiquitous in virtually all of the processed foods and foods over the counter that you buy at the grocery store. And so now everything has sugar in it. Ketchup has sugar in it. Tomato sauce for spaghetti has sugar in it. And the reason why that is because we have this sort of genetic predisposition for wanting something that is of a sugar origin.
All right, just to land back on what he was saying, family. This is part of the problem, family, of living in the land of our captivity, living in the land of our enemies. They are putting stuff in our food that's poisoning us, right? I mean, sugar is one of those things, and this is what Dr. Price is referring to, is that sugar is one of those things where they are putting it in everything, family. Things that you wouldn't think that, man, it wouldn't have sugar in it, just like ketchup. Nope, ketchup has sugar in it. Spaghetti sauce, you would think, man, spaghetti sauce don't have sugar in it. It's tomatoes. Nope, he put sugar in it. They're putting it into everything, family. And so we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but about the challenges when it comes to eating healthy and stuff like that. But the challenge is finding stuff that doesn't have a whole bunch of sugar in it. And shout out to, I forgot who put what was it, Cocoa Crisp? No, Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa Puffs. That was it. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So shout out. I forgot who put that in the chat, but yeah, Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. That was it. That was one of the popular cereals back in the day. All right, well, let's keep checking out Dr. Price, but he's right on point, family. Sugar is in everything, and not only is it in everything, they're putting high amounts of sugar in everything. And eventually what we're going to talk about, family, is what happens when they put sugar into everything and you're eating sugar constantly. Remember, we did not have sugar back in our homeland. I was telling you about the pet store. Like in our environment, we didn't have this processed sugar in our environment. We had honey, right? We had honey, but we didn't have this sugar.
Okay, but our natural tendency is towards glucose that comes from fruit, not necessarily things that come from processed foods that didn't exist for most of our ancestors. And so as a result, we've become so used to having sugar in our diets, we really don't understand how much sugar we're consuming today. In my book, Vegetation Over Medication, I dedicated an entire chapter to talking about the subject. It's called The Bitter Truth About Sugar. And in that chapter, I detail how much sugar we're consuming today. We consume, on average, the average American, one person, consumes about 152 pounds of sugar every year. Okay, so think about that when you go to the store and get that 5-pound bag of sugar, and imagine getting about 30 of those and consuming that amount in a year's time. Now, everybody will say I have a sweet tooth. Many people say I have a sweet tooth. And when we say this, we say it almost in a way that, it's benign, as if there's no consequences to it. We just say, I got a sweet tooth. There's nothing I can do about it. But the most important question that we don't ask ourselves is, A, why do we have a sweet tooth for things that are so unhealthy? And B, what is that doing to me? Okay, and so that's what we're going to get in today. What is that sweet tooth doing to me? Because so many of us have it. I've had it in the past, and I'll talk a little bit about how I got rid of that sweet tooth and started craving things that are actually naturally sweet instead of things that have added sugar to them. Okay,
and so you got to know that sugar is addictive. It has an addictive factor to it. I thought I saw Fruit Loops. Sorry, family, not to get distracted, but somebody put a cereal in there that I totally forgot about it. Just wanted to give you props. It'll come back around. But yeah, sugar is. Fruity Pebbles. No, we think we already said Fruity Pebbles. But anyway, but sugar, Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger. Thank you. But yeah, sugar is totally addictive, family, and that is why they put it in foods, because it starts, your body starts to crave sugar after a while. And actually, what we're going to talk about after we check out this clip with Dr. Price, we're actually going to check out a clip from Dr. Tracy, where she's going to review the addiction or the withdrawal when it comes to sugar. But let's continue with Dr. Price here. Let me pull up his video. Hang on one second, family. Dr. Bobby Price.
So in that chapter in my book, I also detail there's over 75 different names for sugar. So a lot of times when we're actually going to the supermarket and buying products and we look at the product label and look at the ingredients, we really can't decipher what is and what isn't sugar because there's so many different names for it. So even if we're trying to eat healthy and we're trying to read the labels properly, the food companies have sort of made sure that they can always outsmart us when it comes to that. And then also we don't know how to read labels and determine how much total sugar is in that product as well. So again, sugar is a real issue today in terms of our health. And once we sort of end this video, you'll see how it's impacting our health, and you'll see how it's impacting our health not only on a small level but on a big level too. Everything from tooth decay to cancer. Okay, so let's get into it today. I'm going to break down the 10 ways sugar is actually killing your health, so that it'll inspire you to do something about that sweet tooth that is the socially accepted addiction. Okay, because sugar, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so the number one thing, starting with number one, is sugar suppresses the immune system. Okay, that's one of the primary things that sugar is going to do to your health. It's going to suppress your immune system. So one of the worst things that you can do when you're sick, when it's cold outside, is to consume sugar. And guess what? When you start to think about it, the times that we consume the most sugar, i.e. The fall during Halloween, and it's, we're going out and getting candy, etc. During the holidays, as well, during Thanksgiving and also, Christmas, because we're eating so many pies and cookies and cakes and things of that nature. But also a lot of the sugar that we're not calling sugar, but is sugar, is a lot of the white flours. Okay. A lot of the starches, these things turn into sugar in the body as well. And the more.
And that's a key point too, family. And that's one of the things that I learned as well, is that it's not just the sugars, but it's the sugars and the starches. Starches like bread, starches like potatoes, mashed potatoes. I was a big mashed potato consumer. And what I did not realize was that when you eat starches like that, your body takes in those starches, and then your body will break down those starches, and they will transfer or transform into sugar. So you might as well, when you're eating potatoes, you might as well be popping sugar cubes in your mouth. So that's another thing, family. So it's not just the sugars. Yes, and rice. Yes, shout out Sister Cynthia. Rice. Yeah, rice is another big one. Yeah, if you want to cut down on the sugar in your body, it's not, take out the potatoes and take out the rice, right? What's some other starches, family, that I'm forgetting about? I think pasta, I'm not too sure about that, but I think pasta is in there as well. But come on, family, what's some other starches? Of course, French fries, that's of course potatoes. But those are things that we have to, if you want to cut down on the amount of sugar in your body, those are the things that you have to cut down on. And we'll get into, what this sugar is actually doing to the body. And this is what Dr. Bobby Price is reviewing with us. Pasta, okay, and pasta. But and just for the sake of those that are just joining, we're watching, just a clip from Dr. Bobby Price. He has he has a YouTube channel out there, so definitely go out and check him out. But Dr. Bobby Price, he breaks down, he has different videos on sugar. And then the plan is to go into some videos with Dr. Tracy. And Dr. Tracy will show you the mental hold that sugar has on us. But yeah, shout out to Sister Sarah, shout out to Sister Saul, and everybody in the chat. But big shout out to the moderators. Hopefully you all are doing well. But Sister Sarah, she said inflammation. We're going to get to that. That's a big one. Inflammation in the body, family, is bad. And sugar causes inflammation. But I won't get too far ahead of Dr. Price here. Let's let him break this down. So let me go ahead and start this back up.
That your blood sugar level goes up. The unfortunate consequence of that is that it's not only going to compromise your gut, okay? It's not only going to compromise your gut, but it's also going to compromise your immune system. It's essentially going to paralyze your immune system, okay? So in a time where your body needs to fight off an infection, the unfortunate thing is that it's not going to be able to do that because your immune system is going to be suppressed and paralyzed, okay? So that's one thing that sugar does to your health, okay? Number two, is also going to, as I mentioned before, it's also going to ruin the good bacteria in your gut called the microbiome. Now, here's why this is so important. Your microbiome is responsible for making roughly around 80% of your immune system. Okay, so 80% of your immunity is coming from your gut health, your microbiome, that good bacteria in your gut. And when sugar goes into the gut, it not only ruins that good bacteria, and now that bad bacteria can overgrow, it also loosens these tight junctions that are there to protect you from certain things being absorbed into the bloodstream, okay? And then also inflaming the body and also having the immune system essentially go haywire, okay? So sugar also ruins the gut and increases that permeability. So your gut literally is like this with tight junctions, and the only thing that can get across is vitamins, minerals, amino acids, healthy fats, things of that nature, okay? And then all of a sudden, now these microparticles and large particles of food are coming across. Some of the waste that is in your gut is coming across. And that is truly what is causing your immune system to go crazy, but also is ruining your gut as well, too. All right. Number three, frequent urination, especially at night. You know, I talked about this in another video, so please go check that out. But essentially waking up in the middle of the night to pee. A lot of times what happens is you've been eating food throughout the day that has elevated your blood sugar so high that by the time that you get into the bed and your body starts to now process all of this food, because when we wake up in the morning, what are the first things that we do? We go to the bathroom. We either have a bowel movement or we're urinating. Okay, because our bodies are cleansing and detoxifying and healing itself, okay, to get rid of waste. And so what's so important for us to know and understand is that when those blood sugar levels are high, it's going to lead to you increasing the amount of urination, because sugar is essentially acid. Okay, sugar turns into acid and it turns into fat into the body. And guess what? The kidneys remove the body of uric acid. Okay, so the higher your sugar levels are, the more uric acid you're going to produce, and thus you're going to be getting up in the middle of the night to pee. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting, family, because, you know, these are some of the things that we don't think about, you know, when you're eating sugar, like when you're eating those sweets. You don't know that, you know, it's going to increase your blood sugar level, and that because of it, you're going to have to go to the restroom more, right? You're going to have to might wake up in the middle of the night more. And one of the things I think, you know, he'll eventually get to, but is that when you lower your sugar intake, you actually sleep better. You have a better night's sleep. Let's go. Let me unpause it here. Let's go.
Okay. Another thing, sugar feeds yeast or candida in the body. Okay. And candida or yeast isn't just a problem for women. Like when we hear that, we think to ourselves like a yeast infection, that's just for women. But a yeast infection could be a jock itch. Okay, a yeast infection could be athlete's foot. You know, a yeast coming out of the body could be identified as dandruff coming out of the scalp. And you'll notice that wherever yeast comes out of the body, it's itchy and irritated. Okay, and so that's one of the things that feeds yeast is sugar. Okay, especially at night, you'll notice not only with yeast and parasites, they wake up at night. And when they wake up, they're hungry for sugar. So that's why you tend to crave carbs, starches, sweet things at night because that yeast and those parasites are waking up in the body. And then we feed it with 152 pounds of sugar that we're consuming on an annual basis. Okay. Another issue with consuming sugar and that sweet tooth is that it will lead to what is called fatty liver disease, specifically non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And the reason why I'm saying non-alcoholic is because up into the 90s, the only people that we saw with fatty liver disease were people who had problems with alcohol abuse. But today, the vast majority of people who have fatty liver disease are people who are not alcoholics, people who just overconsume sugar.
Oh, I hope you heard that, family. I hope you heard that. The people that have fatty liver disease now are not the people that have, or at least I guess what he's saying is the majority of them are not the people that, that were drinking. It's the people that consume large amounts of sugar. That's major, family.
And again, it's not just sugar in the form of sweetness, sugar in the form of white flour. Okay. And I'll talk about that in another video, but we are also consuming about 135 pounds of white flour every year. Okay, so when we start to look at our plates and we'll see the vast majority of what we're consuming is white flour and sugar and starch. All of these things are sugar, okay? But essentially what happens to the body when we're over consuming sugar, the liver has a natural process where it takes excess sugar and it puts it in a stored form called glycogen. Okay. Now, the unfortunate fact about excess stored glycogen or excess stored sugar is that it will later be converted into fat. And so the liver becomes very fatty. Instead of having a lot of muscle tissue, now you have a fatty liver. So this is why they call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And as your liver becomes more and more fatty, the unfortunate thing is it loses a lot of its function. And you cannot lose the function of your liver, especially in the very toxic environment that we live in today, because the liver is responsible for removing the toxicity from our bodies, taking those toxins from our foods, from our cosmetic products, from our hygienic products, from the air that we breathe in, from, the water that we bathe in and drink sometimes, taking all of that toxicity and processing. The liver is the master detoxification organ. So when it becomes dysfunctional, you are in big trouble. Okay. Another thing that consuming excess sugar or unnatural sugar in the form of high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrose, I can go on and on. Again, as I said before, I talk about this in my book.
Maltodextrose. Remember that name, family. Maltodextro. You know how we were putting, you all were putting the different cereals in the chat, Fruity Pebbles, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cocoa Puffs. If you still have some of those boxes in the house, whenever you get a chance, pick them up and look at the the nutrition label, go down to the ingredients and look for maltodextrose. I might be mispronouncing that, but it's called I believe it's called maltodextrose. And what you'll learn is that, family, is maltodextrose is really sugar. It's like a different sugar maker, right? And what these producers are doing is that they're trying to get away from or around putting sugar directly into the cereal, and then what they'll have to do is list it on that label as sugar, because when you look at the nutrition label, there's an entry there that says sugar. So in order for one of those producers to get around that, well, they just use a different product other than sugar. They use a product that makes sugar, maltodextrose, which is depending on some of the doctors that you listen to, they'll tell you that maltodextrose, like per pound or whatever, is 3 times worse than sugar. So you see maltodextrose on there, they trying to get over on your family. They trying to get over on you.
There's over 75 different names for the type of sugars that they're using in the food that they put in processed unnatural food that most people aren't aware of. But most important is that excess sugar is converted into fat. The same way it is in the liver, it's converted into that fat in the body as well too. And so what I typically will notice with people when they're coming to me is that if I see somebody whose midsection of their body is very, very, heavy. Okay, if the most of the weight is concentrated in the abdomen area, it tells me that they love carbs and sugar. Okay, and so that's always a telltale sign. And so not only is it going to create obesity, but it's also going to create insulin resistance, because as your blood sugars go up, your insulin levels go up. And guess what? Insulin is a fat storage hormone. Okay, the more insulin you have in your body, okay, the more it tells the body to store fat. Okay. And the same thing with stress. The more cortisol you produce as a result of being stressed, and, consuming sugar actually puts the stress on the body, it will tell the body to store fat. And so this is why consuming excess sugar will not only lead to obesity, but lead to the type of obesity that is concentrated in the abdomen area as well too. The other really unfortunate consequence of consuming a diet high in sugar is that it's going to produce inflammation in the body. Okay, it is going to produce, if you feel always inflamed in your back and your knees, a lot of times what I find is that when people take sugar and flour out of the diet, all of a sudden they don't have arthritis anymore. They're not inflamed in the body, and inflammation is essentially ubiquitous in the body and the population today because we're over consuming sugar.
Oh, I got a testimony on that one, family. I got a testimony on that one. Because, as we get older, family, we start to have all these creaks and these pains and things like that. And, I thought, I started getting these pains and creaks in my shoulder and my arms and stuff like that. And I was like, man, am I getting this? Is this what it means to get older? Man. And family, I was, kind of a little depressed about it. I was like, man, why is all of a sudden I'm just having these pains just from at rest, having these creaks and pains. And it kind of felt as though my joints were, inflamed, right? But I mean, to Dr. Bobby Price's point, when I cut down sugar, family, you talk about instant relief. Like all the inflammation that I had, as far as muscle wise and stuff like that, it just disappeared, family. All of a sudden I'm back in the gym like I was when I was in my 20s. I mean, so if you have like arthritis and stuff like that, family, definitely, I encourage you, family, to take a look at your sugar intake, because sugar causes inflammation. And shout out to, I think Sister Sarah, I think you put it in the chat first, but yeah, shout out to Sister Sarah, but she put it in the chat as far as like inflammation. And this is what I was talking about. Dr. Bobby was going to talk about it. Inflammation is key, because inflammation impacts so much other things. Like it impacts cardiovascular. I'm not sure if Dr. Bobby Price is going to talk about it, but it also impacts cardiovascular, blood pressure, all this stuff, right? Like inflammation is the core common denominator with all that stuff. And if you can resolve or take care of inflammation, you're talking about, moving over into a healthier status in your, when it comes to your body. So definitely, family, like sugar is no joke when it comes to your health. Like the impact on your health, it's not a small thing, family. This is a major thing. And again, this is one of those things that we were forced to make when we were in captivity, forced to make when we were in chains, and we were forced to spread sugar to the four corners of the earth because of us. That was because of Israel, family. Because of Judah in particular. Sugar was spread because of Judah in particular. I'll just throw that out there. But let's keep going, family. Let's hear what Dr. Price has to say.
And sugar is an irritant to the body, and irritation leads to inflammation. Okay? And it doesn't matter where the inflammation is. The inflammation in your stomach is called gastritis. If it's in your knees, we'll call it arthritis. If it's in your lungs and the bronchioles, we'll call it bronchitis. Okay? But it doesn't matter that it's concentrated in one place or the other. when you consume sugar, you're feeding that inflammation. You're feeding the fire instead of putting it out. Really, really important. The other thing is excess sugar will lead to multiple chronic diseases. So everything from kidney disease to heart disease to type 2 diabetes to high blood pressure. The more sugar you consume that is unnatural, it will contribute to all of those diseases. And when you start to think about it, high blood pressure, heart disease, most people will associate salt with that at first. But it's not just the salt. It could be mostly the sugar that you're consuming in your diet, that sweet tooth, that socially accepted addiction. Okay, so if you're having a problem with your kidneys, you're having a problem with type 2 diabetes, and even to some level type 1 diabetes, because, in the 1980s and 90s, it wasn't even called type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It was called adult onset diabetes and then juvenile onset diabetes, because type 1 diabetes was only in children who were born with it, quote unquote. And the reason why I put quote unquote, because most children aren't necessarily born with a type 1 diabetes. Most of them develop between ages 0 and 3. Okay, so that's why I say it's sort of air quotes. But the point I'm trying to make is that the same way non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now the name, and it used to be primarily most of the population was, and when it came to fatty liver disease, were people who had alcohol abuse. The thing is that it's really important for us to understand that type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, they initially started as adult onset and juvenile onset, and now you have adults getting type 1 diabetes. Okay, and I think that's really, really important for us to understand, because we have so much sugar in the population today that now people are going from type 2 to type 1. Okay, and it goes that way because of the severity. Okay, so that's really, really important. So a lot of chronic diseases are coming from, excess sugar in the diet. Again, 152 pounds every year. Okay. The next thing is cognitive decline, having some, mental effects as a result of sugar too. It will affect your ability to concentrate. So a lot of people who have an ability to concentrate, who believe that they have ADD or ADHD, it could be because you're consuming too much sugar. Okay, because it affects the brain. It also increases the risk for Alzheimer's, and it also increases the risk for dementia as well. Okay, and now this is the really crazy thing. They're calling dementia type 3 diabetes. Okay, so just imagine that they're calling dementia type 3 diabetes. And there's a reason for that, because they're directly connected to issues with blood sugar and inflammation. Okay, so you can see how sugar is impacting the population as well too. And here's the crazy thing. We're seeing people who are having signs of dementia in their late 30s and 40s now. Okay, there used to be this disease of the elderly population, but now we're starting to see people experience some of the side effects and symptoms of dementia in their late 30s and 40s, and that is going to increase. And, simple things like headaches, consistent and chronic headaches and inability to concentrate. These are signs that you're headed in that direction. So it's important for us to know and understand we have to cut that off with prevention beforehand. So cutting down the amount of sugar in our diet is very important for that reason. And then the last thing and one of the most important things is sugar feeds cancer. Okay, the more sugar you have in your body, what we've been able to sort of determine based on, our tests, like the PET scan. Okay, when you do a PET scan, what they're doing is putting labeled sugar in the body. And then what they do is they detect that radioactive sugar in the tissues. They see where that sugar is being consumed the most in the tissues, and that will tell them where the cancer is in the body. Okay, so that tells us that cancer loves sugar.
I don't know if you caught that, family, but basically, what he's saying is that they inject this type of sugar in the body, and wherever this sugar ends up, they know that that's where the cancer is, because cancer loves sugar. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm just like you all, family. I'm learning, the adverse impacts of sugar. And this is one of the reasons why I'm in, just like you, family. I have made a decision to move away from sugar. But let's finish up with Dr. Bobby Price. Let's see what he has to say.
When we consume too much sugar, we're feeding cancer. And this is a whole nother video, but we'll talk about how you can starve cancer in another video. Okay. So those are the ways that sugar literally kills your health. And I'll give you a few other bonuses. It also leads to acne. It also causes hormonal imbalances, and it also leads to infertility in both men and women. Okay. So if you enjoyed this video, I know there's so many people out there who have that sweet tooth, that socially accepted addiction. If you enjoyed this video, comment below. Let me know what hit home for you.
Yep. And so that's Dr. Bobby Price. Dr. Bobby Price. So definitely check him out on YouTube. He has several videos out there about sugar, the benefits of sugar, not the benefits of sugar, the issues with sugar and the benefits of not using sugar, of moving away from sugar. So it's tough, family. I got to tell you, because I'm just like, many of you all, family. I'm a big sugar addict, whether it be in the morning time, it don't matter what time of day, family. In the morning time, it could be for lunch or dinner. I would find a time for sugar. I make time to have sugar, whether it be some pancakes in the morning or a little treat during, after lunch, or then another treat after, after dinner. But the thing is, family, is that, when you try to pull away from sugar, like when you try to take sugar out of your diet, I mean, just to let you know, family, it's the reason why it's tough is because it's literally an addiction. Your body will literally go through withdrawals. And for that, what I want to do is show or share a video with Sister or Dr. Tracy, where she goes over some of this. Let's check it out.
Sugar withdrawal is like opioid withdrawal. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and this channel is about mental health education and self-improvement. Today I'm going to talk about sugar addiction. I put that in air quotes because technically it's not really an addiction by psychiatric terminology, but behaviorally it's like an addiction. So I'm going to talk about ways you can determine or recognize if you have a sugar addiction and how you can break free of this. Why is this important from a mental health standpoint? Because with sugar withdrawal, not only do you get the physical symptoms like headaches, bloating, tiredness, but you can also get irritability, sadness even. It can even feel like depression or anxiety. If you research this topic, you'll see that excessive sugar increases the endorphins that your body makes. Endorphins are the body's natural opioids. It's what you experience with intense exercise, like a runner's high. Your body actually produces chemicals that are same structure as opioids. So how do you break this cycle? It gets a little tricky here. Sugar addiction is not always about consuming too many sweets. In fact, you can get addicted to sugar even if you don't have what you consider to be a sweet tooth. Many foods that we consume on a daily basis have added sugar. And some examples of these would be things like pasta sauce, soup, yogurt, salad dressing. Anything that says fat-free has added sugar to help it taste better. Then there's also sauces and condiments like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, even crackers. I mean, it's all over the place. And what's even a shame are the prepared frozen foods like lean cuisine and those types of things. They also have added sugar. So it's the presence of sugar in these foods that can contribute to you having or developing a sugar addiction.
Yeah, and like she was saying, family, like we said before, they put sugar in everything. And so you might grab a little container of yogurt thinking that you're doing good, And if you're not grabbing the can or the container of Greek yogurt, because Greek yogurt, usually doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it. But if you grab that Yoplait, I think Yoplait is not Greek yogurt. Yoplait has a ton of sugar in it, and that's just it, family. A lot of times, you're grabbing things that you think are healthy, whether it be like a salad or yogurt, and you're thinking that, man, this should be good, right? Well, no, not. They're going to give you some dressing that has a whole lot of sugar in it, or some dressing that has a whole lot of sodium in it, or stuff like that. So, when you make the decision to cut sugar out, family, you have to be on guard. You have to be on watch for, these guys are crafty when they talk about putting sugar into everything.
And here's some signs that you're addicted to sugar. You find it really hard to say no to sugary treats. You regularly crave foods even when you're not hungry. You get a short-term mood or energy boost when you eat the food, and then it quickly crashes. If you try and cut back, you get really strong cravings or maybe even get withdrawal. And remember, this can apply to starchy foods as well, like French fries, because the high starchy foods have lots of carbohydrates that break down to sugars. So let's talk about how to reduce your sugar. You can always try and stop cold turkey, but that probably won't work because it's just too hard. What you want to do is retrain your taste buds to prefer savory foods. And you can do this by slowly eliminating the foods with the added sugars. Now, this will require you to read labels, and when reading labels, you want to look for any of the following items, and that will tell you that your food has added sugar. And some of these things are agave nectar, brown rice syrup, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, evaporated cane juice, lactose, malt syrup, molasses, and sucrose. Now, some of these sugars are considered to be healthier types of sugar, or at least healthier than table sugar, because they have more nutrients in them and they're less refined. Table sugar goes through a refining process from sugar cane or sugar beets, whereas honey and agave nectar are usually consumed more in their original form, so that makes them healthier, less refined. But don't be fooled into thinking you've made a good move because you've switched from table sugar to organic raw honey.
Yeah, let's talk about that, family. Let's talk about that, because that was one, I kind of like I said, looking through the comments of the previous video on the history of sugar. That was kind of I think one of the comments I saw was like, it's, sugar cane, but if you get the raw cane sugar, it's not that bad, or if you get, some other type of sugar. But at the end of the day, it's sugar, family, and the body is going to turn to sugar, right? So, and it's tough. I see some of the comments, shout out to sis, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it is truly a withdrawal. And what Dr. Tracy's going to, go into in a few minutes that she has left in this video is, there are ways to get off the sugar expressway. You can take an off ramp. It doesn't have to be cold turkey. There's, other, like there's some products that are out there that are, not as sugary. One of the things that, Most High willing that I will continue to do is look at labels. What I'm doing, family, is looking at labels, finding products that people will eat, when you got that sweet tooth. Like, believe it or not, dark chocolate. If you, what some people are doing is like they'll get like a small piece of dark chocolate that doesn't have sugar in it, doesn't have a whole lot of sugar in it. It has cocoa in it instead. Right. That's kind of like one of those alternatives to just get, taking care of that sugar crave that you might have late at night. Also, things that have cinnamon in it, not cinnamon rolls, not cinnamon rolls, family, but things that have cinnamon in it. I don't know if you all heard of this product called Popcorners. Popcorners. That's one of those little late night snacks. You got the munchies, right? And you want something to eat that doesn't have a whole lot of sugar in it, little to no sugar. Popcorners is one of those things. It's kind of like popcorn, but it's different. They have different flavors like cinnamon and kettle corn and stuff like that. But again, these are just substitutes that you can eat instead of grabbing that treat that's just loaded with sugar, right? And this is going to help keep your your insulin and your sugar levels down. Let's continue with the video, family.
At least not if you're trying to reduce your sugar intake. Sugar, and all you've done really is substitute one form of sugar to another form of sugar, even if that other form has more nutrients in it. And remember, almost all packaged food has some type of sugar in it, and this would be things like lunch meat or the frozen meals or even breakfast sausage. So it'll take some discipline and work to remove these things from your diet, but just as with any habit, it'll get easier and more routine and automatic for you the more that you do it. So how about trying this? This is a good start. Over the next month, try and substitute your high carb, high sugar meal with something closer to whole food. So for example, if you're used to eating toast with jam for breakfast or bagel or muffin, try adding in or even replacing that with a boiled egg. When you add in proteins and healthy fats, you get satisfied quicker and you lose the need to want to fill up with the high sugary meal. So the idea is if you feel full sooner, you won't need or won't crave more toast to feel satisfied. So a word on sugar substitutes. If you're looking to drastically reduce your sugar intake, you don't want to use sugar substitutes to help you do that. Why? Because sugar substitutes like stevia, aspartame, agave, for example, all keep your food still tasting sweet. They don't help you reset your taste buds, and that's really what you need to do. But more importantly, sugar substitutes are linked to metabolic syndrome, and I'll have a reference to that in the description. Metabolic syndrome is a set of symptoms that include high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and abdominal fat. And if you have any, or especially all of these conditions, it increases your risk of developing diabetes and heart disease. So drinking several diet sodas a day doesn't mean you won the sugar war. In fact, you've just switched from one poison to another one. So if you're going to reduce your sugar intake, you need to go all the way. Go full boat.
Got to go all the way, family. You got to go all the way in. It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough fight. And like I said, in my household family, we are trying to win the fight against sugar. And my wife, she put it best. She's like, I'm trying to get this sugar bear off my back. I'm trying to get this sugar bear off my back. All right. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to get this sugar bear off our back, family. Trying to toss him off. Right. Trying to give him a couple of elbows to the gut. Like, get off me, sugar bear. But it's going to be tough, family. I'm not going to lie to you. But praise Most High. I know we can do it. We can do it, family. Hallelujah. Most High is going to give us the strength to do it.
Don't rely on the sugar substitutes. So you're going to need to do this gradually. And you could start with the big things like the desserts, and then gradually go into eliminating the processed foods with the added sugars in them. Now, you do need to take that step, because if you don't eliminate the processed foods, you'll still crave those desserts and other sugary foods that you worked really hard to get rid of. My last point is you do need to keep your expectations realistic. It's not possible to consume zero sugar. We still get fructose from fruit and glucose from the breakdown of carbohydrates such as vegetables and grains. So what you're trying to do or accomplish here is reducing the added sugar sources so that you don't overconsume sugar. And once you get accustomed to only consuming the natural sugars that are found in fruits and vegetables, it'll be hard to tolerate the added sugar that you get from the processed foods. And that would be a great place to be, where things just taste too sugary and you don't even want them anymore. I hope you can make some headway with this. I'm still working on it myself. It's really hard to let go of that barbecue sauce. If you like this video, click the like button and share it with a friend who you think may benefit from it.
All right, that's Dr. Tracy. Hopefully, Dr. Tracy doesn't get me in trouble with that song, that music that she was playing in the background. But yeah, family, and she was like Dr. Tracy was saying, it's tough, but you can do it, family. You can do it. And let me just show you just a quick clip from Dr. Berg's video, and he's also going to talk a little bit about the issues with sugar.
Now, you may just end up quitting sugar after watching this video. I'm just warning you. Don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. There are 73 meta-analyses that make up 8,600 different studies on sugar. And the conclusions are a high amount of added sugar, is significantly associated with 45 negative health effects, ranging from diabetes to asthma, depression, stroke, heart attack, gout, hypertension, dementia, cancer, and early death. Other than that, it's totally fine. Now, it's interesting because the World Health Organization allows people to consume up to 12 teaspoons of added sugar, right, before it becomes unhealthy. I've talked to many people who say, well, I don't need to do the ketogenic diet and go on a low carb diet because I don't have a weight problem. I usually say, have you ever heard of skinny fat? Chances are, if they're consuming a lot of sugar, they have visceral fat, they have liver fat. They just don't know it yet. But 40% of people of normal weight have metabolic syndrome. That includes high blood glucose, a fatty liver, high cholesterol. And there's another point about obesity I want to make. There's a certain percentage, I think it's 20% of obese people have normal metabolism and they live a long life. And so just because someone's overweight doesn't necessarily mean they're super unhealthy or they're healthy. There's other factors involved. Now, then you have health authorities that will talk about sugar as being empty calories. In reality, sugar is very toxic. Roughly half of it is fructose, and the other half is glucose. Fructose is very, very toxic to the body. I would venture to say it's as toxic as alcohol. And if you ever think about where alcohol comes from, they usually make it from some type of sugar, right? But if we compare fructose with alcohol and which problems each one can influence, both fructose and alcohol cause hypertension, myocardial infarction, heart attacks, cause insulin resistance, fatty liver. They both cause pancreatitis. Nature has basically made sugar hard to get. Our ancestors would get sugar during harvest season from fruit, right? And even honey has a season to it, and it's hard to get because there's bees. But man has made sugar very easy to get.
That's actually a excellent point. I guess we were kind of sort of talking about it, but not really. But yeah, I mean, you think about honey. Honey has a season. Like the honeybees aren't out during the wintertime. So when the honeybees are hibernating or whatever they're doing, during the wintertime, our ancestors weren't eating honey. So there was like a season where honey wasn't even on the dinner table, as far as I would imagine, unless they had like stores of it, right? But that's a really good point. And that's another thing that that we were talking about, family, was that sugar wasn't as prevalent back in the day, like as it is today, because the children of Judah spread it when we went into captivity. All those sugar plantations, we spread it around the world. We caused people to get addicted to it. And so now they don't need us in the field anymore to make it. They just make it on their own. But yeah, that's a really good point that Dr. Berg put out there. Let's keep going. I think he has a short video. It's almost over.
And people say, well, why doesn't the government regulate sugar just like alcohol, right? Well, that's not going to happen. There's too much money involved with sugar. The sugar lobbyists and the corn lobbyists and the sweet beverage lobbyists are extremely powerful. I mean, the sugar sector accounts for 1/3 of all the donations from U.S. agriculture, while they only make up 2% of the farms. So a lot of the money that goes into lobbying comes from the sugar industry. These lobbyists influence the dietary guidelines, food pyramid, but it's no secret that the U.S. Sugar industry cannot afford negative perceptions of its products. And so it has a really strong purpose of discrediting research that says that sugar could be harmful to human health. So if you think the government's going to help regulate this, it's not going to happen. There's just...
Yep, that's another good point. the lobbyists when it comes to sugar manufacturing and the guidelines and stuff with the government, those sugar lobbyists are, they're very, I'll use this term, very powerful because of all the donations and stuff like that they give.
Much money involved. It's going to have to be you stopping the consumption of sugar. Okay. Now, there's many things that you can do to make this transition. There's all sorts of keto-friendly sweets and desserts, like even, for example, Lily's chocolate, okay? This has sugar alcohols, okay? You can do this. You can consume this. Here's one right here. Look at this. 1 carb, keto, chocolate frosting. All right, that's one. Here's one right here. Better sugar, okay? Sweet leaf. Here's a called Nutrail, no sugar, okay? It's kind of like a little cereal you can consume. So these are things that you can do to make the transition. Here's one, keto candied pecans, right? If you need to do these type of things and get off sugar, go ahead. It'll be easy because they taste very similar to sugar, but they don't have the actual sugar. When you eat sugar, you're supporting the sugar industry. And on top of that, you're destroying your body. Now, if you want to know how to transition off sugar, I have a video just for you. This is a beginner's video on how to do keto, and I put the video up right here. Check it out.
All right, so that's Dr. Berg's video. As you can see, family, he's also an advocate of that off ramp. Not going, cold turkey. That people can take an off ramp, and there are some foods that's in between, family. And it's funny because I'm not sure what part of the world that you're in that's watching this video, but we have this product called Auntie Anne's cinnamon rolls, because we're big on cinnamon rolls, family. And once I came into the realization as far as what sugar was and how it impacts the body and all this other stuff, so I started going to the kitchen. And I was talking to my son. I was like, "Yeah, it's like let's take a look at those Auntie Anne cinnamon rolls, family. You talk about having a ton of sugar." I was like, "Man," so I was like, "Well, are there any good cinnamon rolls?" I mean, I know it's kind of like saying that is an oxymoron, right? But believe it or not, family, what I'm learning is that not all foods are made equal. Even when it comes to cinnamon rolls, like Auntie Anne cinnamon rolls, they're loaded with sugar. It's almost like they just dumped a whole thing of sugar in when they were making their product. But then there's the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls it's pretty low in sugar. I didn't check for the other stuff like the fructose and stuff like that. But when it comes to sugar, like the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, it's like 10 grams or 7 grams or something like that. It was on the low end compared to the Annie's. So just when you start taking that off ramp, at the very least, start finding those products that aren't in the extreme bad side. You know what I mean? There's some other ones that are midway, on your way to, totally getting your body off that sugar addiction. And that's the whole point, family, is to get your body off of that sugar addiction. Because it's, for some of us, it might take us a little bit to do that. But all right, like I said, I don't want to keep you long. I know we're going on about 2 hours here, but let me just show this Dr. Bobby video, and he's going to show you some things about what we can do, to make us point us in the right direction.
Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective, and today will be no different. Today we're going to talk about what would happen if you stop consuming sugar for 30 days, okay? Now, this is a really important question to ask ourselves, because first we have to ask ourselves, what is sugar? Okay, because on one side of the coin, sugar is our primary fuel source, okay? How we fuel the body. It's our primary source of fuel. And that's not the type of sugar that I'm really concerned with, because this is a healthy form of sugar. Okay, but I'm talking about the toxic form of sugar, because any sugar that is an added sugar that is not inside of a fruit, vegetable, nut, or seed, that is not in it, okay, not taken from it, It is a toxin to the body. And it's really important that we look at it from that standpoint, because if we do not look at sugar from that standpoint, we're going to confuse it as the same kind of sugar that is actually healthy for us in the form of healthy carbohydrates, in the example of veggies and fruits. And so quite often when you go into your doctor, you're always going to be having this conversation, especially with people who have, blood sugar issues, about don't eat this. And they always include fruit in the conversation. But the real issue is that we're consuming 152 pounds of sugar every year. And most of that is added sugar. It's not the kind of sugar that's in a fruit or a vegetable. It's the kind of sugar that we're getting from cookies, cakes, pies, and juices, energy drinks. Okay? It's the kind of sugar that's coming from sodas. Okay, soft drinks. It's the kind of sugar that is coming from processed carbs, which are polysaccharides. Poly meaning many, saccharide.
Yep, just to jump in here really quick, family. Sugar, like the energy drinks that he mentioned before, family, that is big as well. Like if you're someone that goes to the gym or you're doing some sort of physical activities, we always saw those Gatorade commercials, Powerade commercials, and we're quick to grab a Gatorade or Powerade. But if you notice, family, take a look at the label on those things. Those Gatorades and Powerades, some of them have high sugar content in them. So just make sure you take a look. There are some of those energy drinks like Gatorade, Powerade that don't have a whole lot of sugar in it, but you have to look for it. So this is another lessons learned. Another lesson learned is smoothies. We all hear about smoothies. Like, yeah, man, on my side of town, we have this place called Smoothie King. Like you go to Smoothie King, you walk in there, you think you're doing good, you order something off the menu, and you're walking out the door. It's like, man, all right, I got me a smoothie. I'm good. Couple of things you need to do, because this is one of the things that me and my son did. We started looking at the nutrition on various smoothies, and we found that not all smoothies are good. Not all smoothies are good for you. Some smoothies are high in sugar, and you eating that smoothie and you thinking you're doing something good because they blended it in the blender. No sir, no ma'am. It's just as bad as, or it can be just as bad or worse than grabbing a cinnamon roll, one of those anti cinnamon rolls I was telling you about. It could be just, that bad. Or if it's not high in sugar, it's high in saturated fat, and we hadn't even talked about that. But saturated fats is another thing to cut down on. But one of those two, family, I'm telling you, nowadays you have to look out for it, family, because remember, we're living in the land of our captivity, and these enemies, they're putting stuff in our food for us to consume to shorten that lifespan. I'm telling you, family. And so part of us, especially as far as I'm concerned, family, part of us, coming out of Babylon, coming out of this system, family, is to disconnect from this poison that they're getting us, or that they have gotten us addicted to. But let's check out what Dr. Bobby Price has to say, because I know he's going to go over a few more things here.
Meaning sugars. So many sugars. Okay. And those polysaccharides are processed carbohydrates. They're going to be breads, pastas, pastries, rice, etc. All right. Also the disaccharides, meaning two. Di meaning two, two sugars. Okay. Sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Okay. Honey, agave. All right. So how much of that we're adding into it. And I think that's important because, again, honey stands alone on itself because this is something created by bees. But you got to understand, even when bees create it, it is a conglomeration of things that they're creating this honey from. So if you have blood sugar issues, then you need to stay away from all added sugars. OK, and the reason why this is so important is because, again, we're not considering the amount of sugar that is in virtually all food products, okay? Not food, but food products. So when you go into the supermarket, the vast majority of the supermarket is food products. It's not individual foods like kale, like dandelion leaves, like avocados, okay? Those are one ingredient foods, okay? That are packed with this almost, the best way to put it, a conglomerate of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, etc. Okay? that are not only, good individually, but are good in synchronicity with each other when they come into our biochemistry. Okay? And that's totally different from the cereals that we're consuming, the granola, which is essentially a dessert that we're consuming, the barbecue sauces, the ketchups, the salad dressings, which all have sugar in them. We never consider the amount of sugar that is coming from all of these food products. And in my book, Vegetation Over Medication, I dedicate an entire chapter to helping people understand sugar and how it's impacting our health. There's over 50 to 75 different names for sugar. Okay, so even when you're reading a food label, it is inadequate in terms of like helping you understand how to get sugar out of your body, because most of you don't know the 75 to 100 different names of sugar. Okay, so you're going to skim over them and not even consider them sugar. So it's hugely important we understand we have to consider all added sugar a toxin to the body, because we're consuming 152 pounds of sugar every year, the average person. And if we go back to the early 1900s, and we were consuming somewhere between 2 and 5 pounds of sugar. Okay, so it's hugely important we know that sugar is a big issue around our overall health, and sugar is the socially accepted drug. It's a socially accepted drug. We can go into the supermarket and purchase 30 pounds of sugar every year and nobody would, blink an eye. Okay? But essentially, when you think about we're consuming 152 pounds of sugar every year, and you think about those 5-pound bags that you can get of sugar, that's like consuming 30 of those every year. Put that in perspective for a second. And so again, we have to shift how we think about sugar, because all sugar isn't created equal. The sugar that we find in fruits and veggies is attached to fiber. Fiber is there to blunt the effect of sugar. Okay, to slow down the release of sugar into the bloodstream. When you're consuming all of these other sugars that I'm talking about, it does not have that benefit. And that sugar quite often isn't the same, because the vast majority of sugar that is being used is synthetic sugar.
So that's a key point. So like you said, sugar that's in fruits and vegetables, those have fiber attached to them, right? And those sugars for the most part are okay. There are some doctors, especially with people that are diabetics, will tell people even to stay away from certain fruits as well. So definitely, I'm not saying anything that's different than what your doctor's saying. So definitely, always run stuff by your doctor first, family. But but basically, what Dr. Bobby Price is saying, and you heard him. If it's part, fruits and vegetables, sugar that's part of fruits and vegetables, that's okay because it's attached to fibers. It's the other sugar that's bad.
Refined sugar. When you refine something, it has to go through a chemical process. All right. And that's hugely important. So not only are you getting this developed version of sugar, okay, that nature didn't intend for us to have, but you're also getting the chemicals that come along with it. Okay, so hugely important. There's a huge difference. The other thing I think that is hugely important is that most people don't know that sweet tooth that they're overlooking is feeding dis-ease, is feeding discomfort in the body. Okay, and let me sort of break down some of those diseases that sugar is feeding that people quite often overlook. High blood pressure. Most people associate high salt content with high blood pressure. Well, guess what? Sugar is probably equally responsible. And here's why I say that. And this is a very sort of easy example to see. If you were to make some tea, and let's say you wanted to add some sugar in it, like especially in the South, the kind of tea that they make in the South, and you start adding sugar to it, and let's say while you were adding sugar, you stirred it up and then you spill some out on the table, it wouldn't even run on the table, it would clump up. And the reason why it clumps up is because the sugar content is so high that it makes the tea very thick and viscous, okay? Almost almost turns into a syrup. Well, when you're consuming 152 pounds of sugar every year, you're going to make the blood very thick and viscous. And that also increases the risk for clots as well, too. But it's going to make the blood so thick, it's going to increase the pressure inside of the blood vessels, thus leading to high blood pressure. Okay. It also increases the risk for kidney disease, so it feeds kidney disease. It also increases triglycerides, which is the fat inside of blood, making the blood more thicker, increasing the risk for clotting as well, too. And also occlusion of blood vessels as well that could lead to a stroke or a heart attack. All right. It also suppresses our immune system, which has been a huge thing over these last, 3 to 4 years during the pandemic, when we were trying to, tell people how important it was to shelter in place and socially distance ourselves. What we should have been telling people is, stay away from the cookies, cakes, and pies, because in a recent study at Harvard, they came up with a statistic that somewhere around 39% of people gain weight during the pandemic. Okay. And people were stressed. And when people get stressed, they eat emotionally. And when people eat emotionally, they never eat healthy stuff.
Well, I gained weight during the pandemic because I couldn't go to the gym. They didn't want folks getting together or doing anything. So, I think that's why a lot of people gain weight during the pandemic, just in my opinion.
And probably what they want is sugar. Okay. So, nobody thought about how that was going to impact our immune health. Okay. Which is hugely important. It also feeds cancer as well, too. Okay, and that's a whole rabbit hole to dive down into, but it feeds cancer. It also feeds fatty liver disease. Okay, any excess sugar in our body is going to be converted into fat, and that fat isn't just going to be around our bellies, it's also going to be around our organs, especially our liver. So that excess fat will start to make the liver very fatty, which could eventually lead to inflammation in the liver, fibrosis, and eventually cirrhosis. Okay, where your liver stops functioning, and that is a big issue. All right. It also can lead to gut dysfunction as well, too, ruining the good bacteria in your gut, which is responsible for 80% of your immune system. Okay, so hugely important as well. And of course, we all know that sugar feeds obesity and us being overweight as well, too. So sugar is feeding the primary diseases that are killing us. Okay, so this is why I want to dive into what would be the benefits of you not eating sugar. What would happen if you didn't eat sugar for 30 days? 30 days out of 365, just to see what happens, which I think, in my opinion, is the greatest experiment, the greatest clinical trial that we can ever have, is when we remove something we know is detrimental from our lifestyle and see how our bodies respond to it.
So what would happen if you remove sugar from your body, from your diet, for 30 days? And I saw, shout out to somebody, I forgot who put the comment in the chat about fasting. Fasting is awesome. Fasting can be great because when you fast, you're not putting in these sugars and stuff in your body. But there have been studies as far as what happens when people remove sugar out of your body. Now, of course, we talked about that withdrawal phase, and that is real, family. That going through withdrawal from sugar and actually having, like, it's not just a mental part of it, but there's aspect of it, but there's also a literally physical aspect of withdrawal from sugar. You can talk about, I think Dr. Tracy talked about, like, having headaches and shakes and stuff like that. Like, that stuff is real. But check out what Dr. Bobby Price has to say about what happens to your body when you remove sugar from your body for 30 days.
Let's get into what would happen if you stop consuming sugar for 30 days. Okay, number one, as soon as you stop, you're going to notice the cravings. They are going to come. Okay, I don't know if it's going to be an hour, maybe 6 hours, maybe a day. But the cravings are going to come, and here's why they're going to come. Primarily because of the parasites and yeast that are in your body. And here's why. Because guess what? Parasites and yeast feed off of sugar. Okay. And they get into our taste buds, they get into our brains, and they hijack them. Okay. So as soon as we start eating what they want us to eat, then the cravings come. Okay. Which is really a monumental moment of enlightenment. And here's why. Because you're telling yourself, hey, I'm going to stop consuming sugar for 30 days. You're telling yourself that. And then as soon as you tell yourself that, 6 hours later, another voice comes behind you and says, no, I want sugar. I want some cookies, cakes, pies. I want some bread. I want some pasta. I want some ice cream, all in the same category in terms of like how it creates sugar in the body, by the way. But another voice comes and tells you different. Where did that other voice come from? Where it's coming primarily from the parasites and the yeast in your body. Okay, who have hijacked your taste buds, hijacked your brain into believing that this voice is yours. Okay, so it's so important you know and understand that the cravings are going to come. This is why for those who have used my full body detox, half of the detox is a parasite candida, which is yeast, cleanse. Okay, to cleanse out and kill those parasites and yeast, because otherwise you're going to be trapped in the pleasure trap. Okay, and what is the pleasure trap? The pleasure trap is this, and the food companies know this is what you're trapped into. The pleasure trap is that our bodies have a natural propensity for glucose because it's our primary source of fuel. Okay, now our bodies quite often can't distinguish, is this glucose from fruit, a vegetable? Okay. Our minds rather can't distinguish between that. Or is this glucose from high fructose corn syrup? Is this glucose from refined carbohydrates like pastas, pastries, etc.? Okay. But the brain has known for hundreds of thousands of years, when I get glucose into the system from a natural source for hundreds of thousands of years, because all of these food products are new. They showed up in the last 70 years. Okay. Before these last 70 years, they did not exist. Okay. So for hundreds of thousands of years as humans, the glucose that has been put in our body has been from fruits, vegetables, etc.
Yeah, so he's reiterating the point that we made earlier, family, that a lot of this sugar, this uptake in sugar, has been something that has been introduced in the last 70 years. You know, especially like the increases of sugar in all these different products. And what Dr. Price mentioned as well is that the amount of sugar intake in the early 1900s, like just in the early 1900s, was maybe like 5 pounds of sugar versus 100 and forgot what he said, like 150, 180 pounds of sugar. So that is a drastic difference, family. So if you wonder, why all of a sudden, the health for so-called African Americans and really a lot of the ethnicities across the U.S. is because of the diet, family. And a big shout out to Pastor Kelly. I saw We Woke Now in the chat. So definitely, family, go and check out We Woke Now. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. But yeah, family, this sugar addiction, it is no joke, family, and this is a serious thing to pull away from. I mean, it's going to require a lot of prayer, but I know that you can do it, family. I know the Most High Abiyah will give you the strength to be able to do it, family.
All right. So now there's this confusion. But for hundreds of thousands of years, whenever you put glucose in the body wanted to reward you because this is our primary fuel source. So it gave you a dopamine release. So guess what? The food companies know that. So as a result, anytime you consume any type of sugar, guess what? You're going to get this dopamine release. Okay. And that is what's going to keep you in this pleasure trap because whenever you consume that food, you get this dopamine release. But the bad thing is you're going to get desensitized because there's so much sugar coming from one meal. Okay, and the other part of the trap is that now you're creating the yeast and the parasites in the body. So as soon as you start to say no, your body has these cravings. The second part, or number 2, is that you're going to have withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so you're going to have the cravings. The withdrawal symptoms are going to come. Why? Because, again, the parasites and the yeast that are in the body. Okay, and quite often what happens is the same withdrawal symptoms somebody would go through if they were quitting cigarettes or quitting an illicit drug like heroin or cocaine. They would start to get irritable. They would start to sweat. They would get fatigue. Okay, they would start to get nausea and vomiting. They would start to, leak things from their skin, have a breakout. Okay, all of these things that somebody with an illicit drug, withdrawal symptoms would have, you go through that with sugar as well too, which tells you that sugar is a drug. It's a drug. It's a toxin to the body. Okay, because anything we eat that is healthy for us, we never have withdrawal symptoms from. We never have cravings for it. Okay, so you're gonna go through these withdrawal symptoms, which is telling you that you are addicted. Okay. That's the key component. It's telling you that you're addicted, and this dopamine pleasure trap, you're caught up in it. Okay, this is why, again, my detox helps so much with that. All right, I'll put the link in the bio about that, but this is why it helps, because it gets rid of those parasites, it gets rid of those yeast, and you'll notice that when you do detox, everybody who's done it, comment below, you'll notice that your appetite actually goes down, which we'll talk about in a second, and you'll also notice that your taste buds begin to change as well too. So hugely important. Number 3 thing you're going to notice is that your energy is going to go up. Your energy is going to go up because now, instead of you having these blood sugar spikes and then these dips, so these peaks and valleys throughout the day, now your blood sugar is going to be stabilized throughout the day. So you're going to be getting this consistent, burst of energy throughout the day. All right. So your energy levels are going to go up. You're also going to lose weight. And the reason why you're going to lose weight is not only are your blood sugar levels going to be stabilized, but you're going to lower the amount of insulin as well too. And insulin is a fat storage hormone in the body. And that's really important because insulin tells the body to store fat. Okay. The more you produce it, the more it's telling the body to store fat. This is why diabetics have so many issues around weight gain. Okay. I think somewhere in the neighborhood around 80% of diabetics are obese. Okay.
Yeah. And shout out to Sister Sarah. Yeah. Sister Sarah said she did the detox. She said appetite went down, taste buds and energy went up, arthritis went away. I can testify to that, Sister Sarah. Because when I started doing the the purging of sugar from my diet, appetite went down. I actually started losing weight. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was like, man, why is this weight falling off me? It's because I got rid of the sugar, and all of a sudden my energy went up. All of a sudden I'm hitting the gym like I was in college, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I was looking back at my diet. I was like, man, it's that sugar. Once I got that sugar out of my system, it seems like my body wants to go back to normal, good healthy state. So yeah, shout out to Sister Sarah. Yeah, when she did the detox, she said appetite went down, taste buds and energy went up, arthritis went away. I can testify to that. Same thing, family. Thanks, sis.
Overweight. All right. And this is why, because there's a hormonal shift. So much insulin is being produced in the body. And then you add on top of that, now they're injecting insulin in their body as well, too. It's telling to the body to store fat. Okay. The other thing that's really important is that sugar impacts a part of the brain that actually controls the appetite. Okay. And so what happens is when you eat too much sugar, it's going to increase the hunger hormone ghrelin. Okay. To tell you to constantly eat. All right. So which is part of those cravings that I talked about. And the other thing I want to mention about number 1 and 2. Okay. Cravings and withdrawal symptoms. All right. The cravings and the withdrawal symptoms is essentially the pleasure trap. What was really important to understand is this is what keeps us stuck. This is what keep us in the position where we never change our metabolic health, where we never get rid of the sweet tooth. Okay, so it's hugely important. Most people get stuck there. When they start this journey of 30 days, they get stuck at the cravings and the withdrawal symptoms and they turn backwards. Don't do that. All right. Number 5, your skin will start to glow. And your skin is going to start to glow because a high sugar diet is associated with acne, blemishes, rashes. Okay. And it's also associated with, all type of pimples as well, too. I've always said this, but the skin is essentially the largest organ in the body. It's the largest elimination organ. Okay, so whatever you put in your body that is a toxin, your skin will be part of getting rid of it. So the blemishes, the acne, the rashes, they are all a part of that elimination process. So your skin is an outward expression of your inner, situation. So what happens is you stop consuming all this sugar. It's not only going to benefit from now these toxins aren't coming out in the form of mucus and sugar, and it looks like pimples when you burst them, okay? But also what's happening is sugar creates a lot of free radicals in the body as well, too, which we'll talk about how that's going to be a benefit when you stop eating sugar in just a second. Number 5, it changes our taste buds. I talked about this earlier, how when you do my 28-day detox or 14-day detox, what you'll notice is that your taste buds change. And the reason why is because once you start consuming all of this sugar, healthier food will taste better. That's one. And the other thing that's important is that processed foods dull our taste buds. They dull our taste buds. Okay. And as a result of dulling our taste buds, what you'll notice is after the 30 days of not consuming sugar, let's say you did go back and, consume something with sugar. What you're going to notice is that it tastes too sweet now. The same cake or whatever it was that you liked before is too sweet for you. Because now you actually have a conscious idea about how sweet this is now. All right. So that's number 6. Number 7, you're going to improve your memory, your focus, your clarity, and your mood as well too. You'll notice that during the 30 days and after, if you stay with this. All right. Improve memory, improve focus, improve clarity, and also improve mood. All right. And why is that? Have you ever heard of type 3 diabetes? Most people have heard of type 1 and type 2. But most people haven't heard of type 3 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes is affectionately referred to as Alzheimer's or dementia. Okay? And the reason why they call Alzheimer's and dementia type 3 diabetes is because it's caused by insulin resistance in the brain. Okay? So again, you can see how sugar and insulin, how they can affect the brain as well too. And so as a result of abstaining from sugar, you're going to see an increase and an improve, and not only your current mental health around memory, focus, clarity, and mood. Okay. You're also going to notice that, you're going to be basically preventing, conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia as well too, and other brain disorders as well too. So that's a huge benefit as well too, once you start stabilizing blood sugar levels and insulin levels in the body as well too. All right.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, he made that point in the earlier video about, one of the detriments or the cons from eating too much sugar, about how it, leads to dementia and brain fog and stuff like that. So definitely, family, just kind of based on some of their research, if you get rid of that sugar, your thought process is supposed to get a little bit better. So, I mean, it's worth trying. All the benefits from doing away, with this product that I keep stressing the family, like this was a product that we were forced to plant while we were in slavery. We were forced to spread around the world while we were in slavery. This is that product. And then unfortunately, what we're seeing is that this product that went all the way around the world, with us, is that it's killing the body. It's the health of people. So this is a big deal, family. I believe this is a big deal.
8, you're going to notice that you don't get sick as often anymore. And why is that? Because, as I said before, sugar suppresses the immune system, but it also kills the good bacteria in your gut that makes and produces 80% of your immune system. Okay? So you're going to notice an improve and sort of, your immune system being improved and you getting sick less often. You're also going to notice that you sort of get this younger look about yourself. You're going to look younger. And the reason why you look younger is because, again, sugar is creating these free radicals in the body. And free radicals are essentially is oxidation. Oxidation is rusting, you aging, okay? All right, so sugar is going to age you. Even if you're in your 20s and you're eating a lot of sugar, it's going to age you. And what sugar does is sugar will create these what are called AGEs, which is prophetic because AGEs is ages, right? So it ages you. But sugar creates AGEs, or advanced glycation products, because sugar will attach to protein and create these advanced glycation end products. And this is what causes you to age prematurely. So 30 days away from sugar, you're going to notice that you're looking a little bit younger as well, too. You're also going to notice that you have better breath and better teeth as well, too. It's going to improve your dental health as well, too.
Oh, gotta stop it on that one. Cut out sugar, you'll get better breath. So family, you see, come up to family and their breath is not so clean. Say, have you had some sugar lately? No, I'm just kidding, fam. I don't want to get you in trouble. But I was also surprised to hear about the better breath benefit.
We all know that sugar causes cavities, but we don't think about it in terms of how it affects our overall dental health, but also affects our breath as well too. You're also going to notice that your sleep improves as well too, because sugar also impacts our stress hormones, and one of those stress hormones is cortisol, and cortisol is directly related to our sleep-wake cycles as well too. And then number 12, you're going to notice, and this is really important for a lot of you out there, an improved sex life, because sugar also affects our sex hormones as well too. So this also could help with improving your fertility as well too, but it definitely can improve the sex life as well too. And then the last thing I'll mention is that it's going to improve.
Oh, I got to comment on that, family, because I know there were some people, I could just feel it. I could feel a shift in the spirit on that. I could feel a shift in the spirit on that some people were on the fence, but as soon as he said that getting rid of sugar causes better sex life, I felt that shift, family. I felt that shift that people were saying, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So yeah, all kinds of benefits he's talking about, family. And actually, at the end of the day, hey family, it's worth, I'm telling you, family, it's worth just giving it a try to reduce sugar in your diet and just seeing how it impacts your health. Definitely. But it's almost over, family. I think he's almost finished with his list here. Let's check it out.
All your numbers next time you do a checkup. So you're going to notice that your blood pressure is lower, your triglycerides are lowered as well too. Your LDL is going to be slightly improved, or total cholesterol, but it's going to be slightly improved because your HDL actually increased. You're also going to notice that you have improve in areas like your immune health. And what I mean by your immune health, let's say if you're one of those people that you're constantly getting a cold every year, you're going to notice that that's going to improve as well too. You're also going to notice with those lab values that you may see some improving in your liver and kidney function as well too, because that fatty level inside of the liver is going to go down as well too. And then the last thing is you could possibly reverse your type 2 diabetes as well too. Okay, so those are just 12 to 13 of those things that would improve if you just stop consuming sugar for 30 days. Now think about this. We only have 365 days in a year, and you're dedicating 30 days. Okay, this is a challenge to yourself. 30 days to saying no to cookies, cakes, and pies, and breads, pastas, and pastries, and rice and potatoes and sugar and high fructose corn syrup, honey, agave, etc. Saying no for just 30 days to see what happens to your health. And if you take the challenge, make sure you comment below. Let me know how your experience has gone. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.
Can you do it? Yes, you can. I believe you can. I believe we can. We can do it, family. I believe we can do it, family. And like I said, I don't take it lightly, family, because I am going through this transition phase. I won't say period, but this phase with sugar. And I can tell you, it's real, family. It's real, but we can do it. Definitely making progress. I started doing it, family, and I started losing weight. I started seeing the benefits. I started seeing my energy going up and all the benefits. So I'm telling you, family, just give it a try. It's worth it. We know for sure that sugar is not one of those things that our forefathers were consuming at the levels that we're consuming it today. Like, we're just on a totally different plane level when it comes to the intake of sugar nowadays, and it's not all our fault, right? It's because in the daughter of Babylon, or the U.S. United Snakes, or whatever you want to call these places that we're in, they're putting it into everything. I mean, it's unfortunately, you have to be on. You can't just take stuff out of your refrigerator and just put your plate together when you eat. Now you have to get into the habit of reading labels and looking for things like sugar and looking for things like saturated fats and stuff like that, refined sugars, like Brother Blue Tinsel said. You just got to look for those things. So you have to be a little bit more vigilant. And family, I'm telling you, you can do it. You can do it. So hopefully, family, that blessed you. Like I said, this is one of the journeys that I'm personally on right now. And after I learned all this information, I just wanted to make sure that Israel at large, or the family at large, knew about it, because this is something that unfortunately is impacting our health. And but however, it is one of those things that we can turn around and get, for those that are in bad health, with not necessarily bad health, but things like high blood pressure and high sugar levels, high sodium intakes and stuff like that. I mean, we can turn that stuff around. So anyway, but all right, fam, I don't want to keep you too long. We're already over 2 hours. I'm surprised actually that we went over 2 hours. But like I said, hopefully that blessed you. Definitely check out some of these other videos by Dr. Bobby Price. That's the gentleman that you saw on the screen, the last gentleman, Dr. Bobby Price, and Dr. Tracy. I forgot her last name, but Dr. Tracy was the other young lady, and Dr. Berg was another doctor that breaks down the benefits and the pros and cons of cutting sugar out of your diet and stuff like that. So all right, well, hey, love you, Miss Picard. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Just another quick reminder. If you haven't had a chance to sign up for the conference, the African Israelite Justice Foundation, June the 27th through the 29th. It's June the 27th through the 29th. Definitely go ahead and purchase your tickets, family. And we're going to have a, most high willing, we'll have a blessed time, just like we did in Charleston, South Carolina, but this time we're going to be in Savannah, Georgia. So we love to have you come out, hug on you, love on you, fellowship with your family, see you face to face, praise the Most High together, and learn about our history. So with that, I say peace and blessings and shalom. And let me see if I can find my outro video. If not, let's see here. What do I do with this? I'll play Maury Asaf's a video. Again, Maury Asaf has a brand new album out, so look up Asaf and Leah.
to see what bring his people out again.
He's turning our sadness into gladness, wiping away our tears, removing our fears. I'm gonna build you up again.
Go get your tambourine.
Get your tambourine, get your praise back. This ain't the time for sitting down. Get up that
Get up on the feet, yeah.
dance with me.